Your first step on crane operation would be to pull up to the job, depress the clutch the whole way to the floor, flip the lever, release the clutch slowly, and the PTO will be engaged. When you arrive out to the job site, the first thing you want to do is make sure there's no wires overhead, so you're going to take a look up just to double check that you're not going to hit nothing. First thing after that you would do would be throttle the truck up and extend the outrigger. Turn this knob to lower the foot on the outrigger. On a job site, you're actually going to want to pull out the foot and place that down as to not leave no marks in the people's driveway or on their property. There's a level bubble located right here. You want to try to keep it within the 5-degree mark. The closest you can get it to center, the better. But as long as you stay within the 5-degree ring, you will be alright. To raise the boom, you'll raise this lever. That raises the main boom. You're going to take that almost the whole way to the top. We're going to have to walk over to the other side of the truck now and set that outrigger out also. Due to the limited space that we have here, I'm not going to run this one out the whole way. I'm just going to bring it out a foot or so. Just put enough pressure on that side just to make sure that this seats up against the top of the steel here. Alright, so the red lever here is a rotation. You can rotate around. Normally the forks would be on the truck right now. They're sitting down in the yard here. Rotate over and grab our forks. Now, until you get used to running the crane, the easiest way for you guys is going to be able to hook up is just walk over, get your hook close, and stick it in yourself. Until you get used to how everything operates, it's going to be easier on the machine, it's going to be easier on the equipment. You want to try to keep the hook perpendicular with the top as straight as possible at all times. You don't want to be trying to lift with it looking like that. So you suck in and bring it back so it's straight, and the forks will walk their way out. You just got to keep on rotating your way out. Boom up. You don't want to bring this very high off the ground, 6 feet max. Rotate around. When you fold up, you'll bring the forks completely against the head rack, which I have lintel sitting on the truck right now, so we won't be able to do that. But notice where the positioning of the hook is on the forks there. They're towards the back. When it is empty, that is where you lift from. When there's a load on, I'm going to show you here, you roll to the front. You want to keep it straight up and down, straight left to right from the forks. Your hook there hanging into the D-ring, and lift. Otherwise, you'll have your pallet swinging, and you could possibly dump off the material that is on the pallet. You want to be really cautious with that, because you're the only one out there when you're taking this off, and you'll be out there by yourself picking it up. So, all right. When you have the fork spin like that, instead of jerking the boom or trying to twist it, you know, with yanking the boom back and forth, the easiest way to do that would be just walk over and spin them the proper way, get them close. That way you're not abusing the gears inside the rotation of the crane. If you go about a quarter of a turn farther than you need to go, they normally rock back to straight. You'll extend out using the extension to get the last skid and rotate in. Every lever you use, you ease onto it as not to bounce anything, not to force anything. Light movements. When it starts to move, you can speed it up if you feel the need to. You'll ease it in nice and steady. There, the forks have hit the bottom of the skid. For that, you'll lower the main boom. As you see, the front of it starts to roll forward. We're going to keep on rotating with that, and we're going to pick up. The forks will walk their way in. Light pickups, rotate in. Back till you need to be straight. And you're going to do a straight lift off. Notice the minimal amount of rocking of the skid. You don't want it swinging back and forth. A lot of times the skids are shorter than the forks are long. If it slides over into the next skid, now you're stuck in 2 skids, and you could dump the other one off the other side of the truck. after you get this skid picked up, seeing this is the farthest one back, this would be your next to last skid coming off the truck. Rotate over just a little bit to make sure you clear the skid. Bring your extension in. Slow down as you get to the end, not to slam the cylinder. Rotate. As you're rotating, you'll want to drop. Lower the main boom. Bring it down to the ground. Closer to the ground you can operate, the better, smoother, and less chance of someone getting hurt. Once you have placed the skid, as you set it down, you'll see that it automatically returns back to the where there's no load lift. Once again, you'll want to get that straight above there, and it'll work its way out if you have it proper. There, we're out of the skid. You bring everything up. Suck everything in. Now you'd go ahead and put the forks up against the head rack. Like I said, I can't place it against the head rack today because I have lintels sitting there in the front. You'll raise the boom up the whole way. You'll close the knuckle. As you're closing the knuckle, you want to slow down again near the end. As the knot make it slam, you'll rotate back. Want to shoot in there. You'll rotate back to these two arrows come in line with each other. At that point there, you're ready to close up the main boom. As you're lowering the main boom, depending on your situation, you're going to want to be looking at through the front of the truck and the back of the truck, making sure there's no box trucks coming down the road or anything, because that does hang out over the side about 2 feet when it's coming down, and someone could easily catch that if they're not paying attention. So you're going to bring this down. When you reach that point of the truck, right about where the boom's at now, you'll want to throttle down so that the everything can slow down. You're going to boom down in, and that'll sit into place. There's a little knob on the end of it, and there it is in place. Everything's folded up. You just push down on all three of these levers just to make sure everything is securely put away. Then we'll step back and we'll reverse what we have already done with the outriggers to put them away.
Can you say what all the levers are while in one close?
Yeah. The red knob here will be your rotation. The first knob to the left of that knob would be your main boom. My fault. Second knob to the no, I was right. Why didn't it go? Alright, I was right. First knob to the left. Let's start over. The red knob here would be your rotation. The first knob to the left of that would be your main boom. This is where you raise and lower the main mast of the crane. The next knob to the left of that would be your jib. knuckle, whatever you want to call it, the elbow up there. And the last knob this way would be your extension, which will run 2 extensions out of the end. This knob here, you must twist to operate the outriggers. When the crane is unfolded, do not operate the outriggers. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're not ready for it. So I don't think they need to see us putting them away. Don't disappear because we got to go through. When operating the crane, one of the biggest things that you should not do is, if you look back on the bed of the truck right now, you'll see a skid that's sitting on the passenger side. When you stick your forks into that, you do not want to lift that off the bed at that point over there. You want to drag it back over to the driver's side so it's within your eye line sight good while you're standing at the controls. Then lift. Because if you lift the other way, once again, there goes a car driving by. You're not perfectly lined up. I mean, the outrigger is out over there, but it's kind of hidden a little bit. So everything you should do from where you're standing so you can see when you actually lift it off the bed, and make sure there's nothing coming by. I'm thinking.
So there's probably another clearance and stuff like bridges and...
The clearance is marked on the inside of the driver's side door up on the roof. It is, I believe, 12 foot 8 inches, if I'm not mistaken. It's right up by the air horn, the cable. Now you'll have to go in that way.
There.
You probably have,
yeah, I see.
That red tag on the wall ceiling up there.
I'll come back to that one.
Your triangles are in a box that are on the floor if you'd ever break down. Another thing that you want to keep an eye on, this we just recently had replaced. The PTO stuck on the truck. So at the end of the job, when you get out of the truck, you flip off the PTO. First you engage the clutch. Turn off the PTO, disengage the clutch. It's just a good habit to get into. Jump out, grab the knob, move it. Make sure nothing moves on the outrigger itself. That way you know for sure that the PTO is off, because if you drive down the road with the PTO on, you will burn it up, and that would be a rather expensive repair. And
what about just the way you park at the 2 different spots? You usually, like you said, you don't. The way you park this one is you come in here, or?
It doesn't matter how you park, because now we only have 2 trucks over here. The other one your dad said is going to stay in Harrisburg, the International. So everything gets parked up there. That's just going to be how they want it parked, or how your dad wants stuff displayed up there. It's not that really, there's not that much about, you know what I mean?
What's the max load on it?
I don't know it off the top of my head.
Good.
I got the paperwork. The paperwork's in the drawer in there.
Is that where they keep all the paperwork on this?
No, paperwork's in Harrisburg, but I have a copy of it over here, because when I got moved over here, I wanted it over here, because we were talking about going and picking up this and that and this and that.
Right.
Bob was calling me twice a week asking me questions, and I just figured it was easier if I had a copy of it too, you know what I mean?
Let's show them where you keep your...
The little bit of information.
Yeah.
I did think of something. As you're putting the outriggers away, you're going to want to watch the hydraulic hoses along the bed. You don't want to pinch them, which could cause them to get weak. Have a hole in them. You won't notice it. Next thing you know, you'll be unloading something. You'll start losing fluid, which in turn will let the leg of the outrigger seep up, and you could possibly roll the truck. This one's a rotation. Everything I said earlier operates the same on this side. You want to try to avoid this side of the truck.
Okay.
That should not from this. There's also levers on this side that are the same as the ones on the other side. This one would do the outriggers. This would be a turn, main boom lift, the knuckle, and the extension. You want to try to avoid being on this side of the truck operating, due to when you come down, you're standing actually underneath, and this will collapse down and could, if something would break, it could land on your head and possibly kill you. So you try to avoid this side of the truck as much as possible. Try to get yourself on the job where you do not have to use this side. You can operate everything off of the other side. If you do need to come to this side, what I always do is I'll rotate around. I'll do everything I can from the other side of the truck, get this as far away from it right here as possible, so that I'm out of the way of the boom. I'll have the boom hanging that way, or I'll have the boom hanging that way. But you never want to just drop something tight off to the side on this side, because like I said, it could hit you in the head and hurt you. This lever here is what controls the bed from dumping and operating the crane. The way it is right now is the way to operate the crane. If you turn this backwards, like that, now only the bed will dump, which the lever I showed you inside the cab earlier, back raises the bed, down lowers the bed. The crane will not work while that is in that position. That is only dumping only. Fittings. You want to go over that, or do you need to download that first?
I got a lot more.
Okay, there's grease fittings all over the crane. Every knuckle, everywhere there's a bend in it, there's a grease fitting. At the end of every hydraulic cylinder, there's a grease fitting, upper and lower. There's a grease fitting right here, which is for this seal that's right here. You put several pumps of grease in there until you start seeing it coming out. There's a grease fitting down in between the two steel plates right here. There's also a grease fitting down underneath here on this side and that side. You want to, every month, install at least one tube of grease between this fitting and that lower fitting. That's for your main rotation. That keeps everything greased up there so that there's no problems. There's also underneath the bed, there's several grease points on the hydraulic system, and again, everywhere something bends underneath there is a grease fitting. I want to walk over to the other side. There's grease fittings on the end of the levers on both of them. Right here is one. There's also grease points on the outriggers themselves. This is just a lock for in transit. When you get out and want to use it, you got to turn it up. For monthly greasing also, you're going to want to run out your outriggers the whole way. Take your grease gun and grease underneath. You'll see where the wear is, and you want to put grease on that. The same for this. And you also want to grease these right here. There's steel plates that are a little higher than the boom. That's all you need to grease on that end of it. And then all of this underneath here, as you can see, is where the plastic is here. You're going to follow that line as if this plastic ran the whole length of the boom. You're going to follow that line with grease. Trying to think. I can't really think of.
Are there any like quirks or?
It's all.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff can operate the truck. It's just, it's knowledge of running it. I don't know if you understand. You know, some of the stuff just, you can't put into words what you can do.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like a guy out here digging a ditch. I couldn't dig a ditch to save my ass, but he could do it probably blindfolded.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no real quirks. I mean,
how about this? Like how many miles per gallon and stuff does it get?
It gets between 5 and 8. Depends on what.
And we fill it up down there.
There, Her Street. There's a book in the truck actually of all the stops.
Okay, where do they?
Pacific Pride.
Where do they keep the book in the truck?
There's a book with all the fuel stations that we use in the truck. It's only in this truck. It is a Pacific Pride book. There is a little pouch here in between the driver and passenger seat. The little mark that's in the book here, that's in Pennsylvania. The other week I was out and had to get fuel up near Lewistown and had no idea where there was a Pacific Pride. This will give you Pacific Pride locations and directions off of a main route. Like I was going up 322, it told me what exit to get off of on 322, which way to turn off the exit, and how far up the road it was and what side of the road it was on.
This one's the
Sterling.
Sterling. It's newer than that.
It's newer. This is the newest truck we have. This truck also turns a lot better than the International. So if you're try to look at your jobs of where you're going, if you're going downtown in the city of Harrisburg, it's better to take this truck versus the International because some of the alleyways you might not get into.
The International's a dump truck, or
That's the other crane truck.
Why would you? Is that one heavier duty or what?
It don't turn. It has a turning radius of about 40 acres. I cannot turn, coming from Pacific Pride, I cannot turn in this entrance down here. It will not make the corner. It's not designed to have the float tires on the front, the big wide tires, and it has them on. So the gearbox, it don't turn as good. So when you use that truck, you want to look for a little easier access places.
What do you think? You're just not gonna answer me? You keep me in your pocket like I'm some
No, I can't really think of nothing else. Normal maintenance of, what every CDL driver should do in the morning. Check the oil. Make sure you don't have no flats. Check your lights. This truck does have a slow power steering fluid leak. You want to check it at least twice a week. Make sure you don't need to add fluid. Like I said, it's a slight power steering fluid leak, but it's something you got to keep an eye on.
Where's that?
Here, hold when you have the hood open on this truck, be very careful. There is no lock on it. So if the wind blows strong enough, the hood will go closed. And if you're behind it, you're just going to be yelling. Well, it would. I mean, this thing's heavy. This is in the area of where the power steering pump is leaking. And this would be your fill for your power steering fluid. Right now it's full, but like I said, it has a slow, steady leak on it that you just want to keep an eye on. Your oil dipstick is right here. And this would be your oil fill. Unscrew, work it out, and that's where you dump your oil in for the motor. Windshield washer fluid on this side, and that bottle over there is your antifreeze. There is oil and antifreeze in both warehouses. The gentlemen or the people that are working there will know where it is if you cannot find it. Every one of the trucks that we have will have these forms in. Anytime you are going off of the road in front of the people's house, driveway, or anywhere you feel that you could damage with the load that you have on your truck, have them sign this, marking, you know, if you cannot describe it with the little picture here drawn on it, just, you know, add in a little comment here stating what you're doing, driving over the curb, etc. You know, just to release us from liability of that. Another thing, if you feel that where they want you to drive with the truck is unsafe, you do have the right to say you cannot get back there, it's not a safe place, you know, and ask for another location that they would prefer to have it. Because some people want some stuff that just cannot be done. Watch out for dogs, they attack you.
About that time you had to return something if they want it returned.
What do you mean returned?
Or if someone sent it back.
When that guy over here in Allendale,
Yeah.
you got to pick it up, pick it back up. That's a good point, I didn't even think of that. Also take into consideration when you go out and make a delivery, after you make the delivery, might not be the final time you see that product. They may return what's left over. They may change their mind on the color, and you may have to go pick it back up. And when you go pick it back up, you're going to have the other truckload on of the new replacement material for them. So always take into consideration where you're setting it. Try to keep what you're delivering in a neat, orderly fashion so that you have room to operate and pick it back up also if you need to. When you're dumping, the lever down here would control your dumping. Back would raise the bed, down would bring the bed back down.
Are there any like quirks or anything that?
There's nothing else really in the truck. Everything else is going to be outside.